This is not over yet, Roja is still singing continuously. 62 of Bakudo 100 steps to the wind. A light rod, divided into multiple light rods, was directly inserted into Hai Long's body. Bakudo number 63 chains and binding. There is another strip of light, forming a thick snake-like chain, entangling Hai Long, making Hai Long move even more painfully. Bakudo 61, 62, and 63 were all used on Hai Long under the control of Luoya. 3 high-level Bakudo in a row slowed down Hai Long to the extreme. What is this? How did you trap me? Although the 10,000-meter sea dragon has lived for who knows how long. But I have never seen this kind of ability of Roja. This made Hai Long feel that Roja was more dangerous than he perceived. It's still the same sentence, surrender or not. Hearing Roja's words, Hai Long's eyes became even redder. I will never surrender. I will never surrender to humans. As the sea dragon roared, all the shackles on its body were torn to pieces, turned into little bits of starlight, and dissipated in the deep sea. With a powerful tail swing, he rushed directly towards Roja. It's too slow. I've already predicted your attack route. Luoya activated his pinnacle of domineering energy, turned sideways slightly, pressed against Hai Long's scales, and easily dodged Hai Long's attack. Since you have always disagreed, then I will beat you until you agree. I have always been very confident in my own strength. Roja didn't say much, but the conqueror's domineering energy wrapped around him became even stronger. Almost a rich ink color. It seems darker than the deep sea. Boom, boom, boom! In the deep sea, Luoya and the 10,000-meter giant sea dragon were constantly competing. In Fishman Island, King Neptune and Princess Shirahoshi next to him. Occasionally, you can see the sea dragon, with its extremely strong tail, passing by in front of you. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and felt nervous. It's been 10 minutes now. I don't know how Baigu is doing now. Neptune was very anxious, but he had no way to provide any help to Roja. Shirahoshi also tried to use his own abilities to find more Poseidons for Roya as assistants. But the power caused by the battle between Luoya and Hai Long was really too great. Except for those low-level creatures that could not sense it, all those who were slightly more advanced had escaped. Shirahoshi could only clasp his hands and pray for Roja continuously. The battle between Roja and Hai Long continues. Although being in the deep sea consumes a lot of physical strength, Roja feels that he can still hold on for a day or two, which is enough for him to deal with this sea dragon. And Hai Long was obviously getting more and more frightened as he fought, but Luoya's power was simply too powerful. Among them, the main one is the peak-armed color domineering, which supplements the strength too much. With this, Luoya can be on par with Hai Long. The water is constantly turbulent and churning. On the way, Roja even encountered a lot of coated ships preparing to go to Fishman Island. But these pirate ships, without exception, were all sent away by Roya's moves. On the sea, the waves are rough. The waves are rolling, and each wave is higher than the last. In fact, the highest wave has easily exceeded 50 meters. This kind of vision spread to Malinfando. Sengoku, who was in the office thinking about how to suppress the 4 emperors, also noticed the roar of the waves at this time. Reporting to Lord Fleet Admiral, various huge whirlpools and waves have appeared in the waters near Marinavando. Please give instructions to Lord Fleet Admiral. Behind Marinavando is the Holy Land of Marigioa. At the bottom of the Holy Land Marigioa is the Fishman Island. After Roja left the Fishman Island, he kept moving towards the distance, so he came to Marinavando, the deep sea in the nearby sea. What caused such a terrifying wave? Let Akiji go over and take care of it. Yes, Lord Fleet Admiral. Akiji, who received orders from the Warring States period, arrived at the port of Marineland at this time. Among Marines, only Akiji has the ability to do this kind of thing. I saw Akiji jumping high from the port. Ice Age! A large amount of air conditioning suddenly filled Akiji's body, and everything the air conditioning passed was frozen. For a moment, the huge waves were all frozen by Akiji's ice. However, before Akiji came down from the sky, In the deep sea, a powerful force seems to be coming from again. These fluctuations are constantly impacting the frozen sea water of Akiji. Within a few minutes, all these ice cubes broke apart and turned into debris. On the sea, bigger waves once again set off. Akiji frowned deeply when he saw this scene. Unwilling to be reconciled, he once again activated his ability. Ice Age! This time in the Ice Age, Akiji used all his strength against the sea. In an instant, the entire sea was like an ice paradise. Under the sunlight, it exudes dazzling light. But before Akiji could breathe a sigh of relief, this time the ice cubes began to melt rapidly again. At this time, in the deep sea, Luoya was tired of playing with this sea dragon. I'm asking you one last time, if you would like to be my mount. Luoya was in Susanoo, communicating with all things, and said to Hai Long, I will never surrender to a creature weaker than myself. If you can defeat me, I will be your mount. But if you cannot defeat me, not only will you die, but also the creatures on the island will also die. Devoured by me! Hai Long's roar reached Roha's ears. After communicating through all things, Luoya knew what Hai Long meant. Compared to preferring death to surrender just now all you have to do is defeat him. This 10,000-meter sea dragon's thoughts have changed slightly. This is what you said, so I won't be polite. As Roha finished speaking, Ryujin Jakka appeared in Roha's hands. At the same time, Roha also materialized Ryujin Jakka in Susanoo's hands using the power of the phantom fruit. Everything in the world is reduced to ashes, Ryujin Jakka. As Roha finished speaking, the Ryujin Jakka in his hand seemed to glow with unprecedented brightness. The next moment, the ocean around Roha instantly turned red. A large amount of heat waves spread towards the surroundings, rolling around like they were boiling. Everyone who felt this heat wave, one by one, only existed in the deep sea, and low-level animals began to break out of the water towards the sea. In an instant, countless fish, octopuses, seahorses, sea snakes, and even a small number of Poseidon species appeared. All kinds of sea animals with famous and unknown names emerged from the sea level in dense numbers. Akiji stood in the port, sweating profusely, looking at the scene in front of him. I saw that the waves in the sea were even bigger and extremely turbulent. The ice cube was shattered again and swallowed by the sea again. The corner of Akiji's mouth twitched. What the hell happened? It's been 4 times. Yes, Akiji has used Ice Age 4 times since just now. In normal times, just using it once can freeze the skills for 2 weeks. At this time, it's like I don't need money. I start using it crazily, but I always fail. General, do you need to take a rest? Drink some water. No, if you don't use Ice Age anymore, then Marinafando will be swallowed by the huge waves. After the words fell, Akiji jumped into the air again and used the most powerful Ice Age. The cold ice once again covered the sea water. Refreeze the sea water into an ice cube. You can even see countless fish from the ice. In the deep sea, holding Ryujin Jakka in hand, Roha displayed unprecedented power. Because the heat in the deep sea continues to rise, it even directly awakens submarine volcanoes. The 10 undersea volcanoes, due to the pull of Ryujin Jakka, completely awakened and erupted with even more powerful power. It was like countless red tongues of blood stirring. Magma is also in the deep sea, constantly erupting and surging out densely. The seabed in the deep sea was shaking from side to side like a violent earthquake. A crackling sound that can be heard in the ear. Bottomless canyon fissures burst open in the deep sea, like the bloody mouths of countless monsters opening from the ground. The entire land fell apart and collapsed in all directions. These heat waves and flames were absorbed by Ryujin Jakka. Absorbing the power of 10 undersea volcanoes, Roha's Ryujin Jakka has boiled the nearby seawater. I saw Roha raising his Zanpakuto high and about to cut it down. At this time, Hai Long was scared. It quickly growled. Stop, I surrender. I am willing to be your mount. When roaring out, Hai Long's voice trembled even more. There is no way. Luoya's power has completely exceeded Hai Long's imagination. In its hundreds of years of life, It has never seen such a powerful human being. Even Shirahoshi's Poseidon was able to avoid her directly, but Roya's power forced her to surrender. Let me ask, how many humans can fight it under the sea? Coupled with the power of Ryujin Jakka, it can reach such terrifying high temperatures in the deep sea and trigger the surrounding submarine volcanoes, which makes it not afraid. After living for such a long time, Hai Long has naturally seen underwater volcanic eruptions, and what kind of power they will erupt. Not to mention the freak in front of me who can control flames. Hearing Hai Long's words, the corners of Luo Ye's mouth rose slightly. He didn't expect that Hai Long was so aware of current affairs. Just think of it as a way to save yourself some skin trauma. Thinking of this, Roha hurriedly changed the trajectory of his sword swing. Holding Ryujin Jakka in hand, slash a perfect arc in the deep sea. I saw this arc cutting towards the sea. The flame slash was like a raging fire, erupting directly from the deep sea. On the sea surface, the thick ice blocks were broken by the sea water again. Immediately afterwards, a big bag seemed to bulge out of the sea. This big bag is getting bigger and bigger. Under the witness of countless marine soldiers from Marina Fando, it suddenly exploded. In an instant, flames spurted out from the deep sea. When it broke out, an earth-shaking roar echoed in everyone's ears. The wind picked up. Countless waves rolled up. There are hundreds of ships and warships among them. A piece was swept up into the sky, swallowed by the monstrous flames. In the highest office of Malin Fando, Warring States stood in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling window, staring at the scene in front of him in stunned silence. The monstrous flames, no way! What on earth is going on? Warring States kept thinking. Contact General Baigu immediately. I have something very important to ask him. Yes, Lord Fleet Admiral. At the same time, Roha made Ryujin Jakka turn into a part of his soul and return to his mind. After all, the Zanpakuto evolved out of the soul. Therefore, we can do this kind of thing. Roha came to the top of Hai Long's head, held Hai Long's dragon horns, and said to Hai Long using the method of communicating with all things. Let's go back to Fishman Island. Yes, master. By the way, I'll call you Xiaohai from now on. Hai Long responded, but thinking about his body length, Hai Long wondered if he was really small. Speaking of Xiaohai, why did you attack Fishman Island? Hai Long roared. Because Noah's Ark, which symbolizes the words of the oath, was destroyed. That's why I want to destroy the Fishman Island. Don't worry, I also have Noah's Ark here. It's exactly the same and it's new. Don't worry about it. As the top Poseidon species, Sea Dragon is not low in intelligence, but it will not betray. Because the Poseidon class is the most vow-oriented. Roya still knows this. If it weren't for himself, then Hai Long might really destroy the Fishman Island. At this time, in the Fishman Island, Shirahoshi clasped his hands together and looked outside the Fishman Island with concern. Father, it seems there is no sound. Yes, even the burning sensation has begun to gradually decrease. Is it because the battle is over? Roha will definitely win. Shirahoshi believed in Roya's strength from beginning to end. At this time, there was a huge black shadow in the distance, gradually approaching Fishman Island. Shirahoshi's pupils shrank suddenly, and tears fell uncontrollably. No, absolutely not. There is no way Roha will lose. Shirahoshi kept shaking his head, looking in disbelief as Hai Long's figure kept getting closer. At this time, Neptune also closed his eyes in despair. He could already imagine that under the attack of the sea dragon, Fishman Island would be completely destroyed. Shirley, who was sitting paralyzed next to him, also showed a look of despair and murmured, I knew that no one could break the spell of divination. Just when the three people present were in despair and heartbroken, Roha stood on top of Hai Long's head and waved to everyone. Shirahoshi, who had been watching Hai Long, was completely stunned at this moment. Luo Ye is still alive! Shirahoshi covered his lips, looking more excited and happy than ever before. Shirahoshi rushed towards Roha without any hesitation. When Neptune heard Shirahoshi's words, he also opened his eyes in disbelief. When he saw Roha, standing on the body of the sea dragon, swimming towards the Fishman Island, he was extremely shocked. Shirley was shocked physically and mentally when she saw this scene. Luo Ye Ju actually tamed this 10,000-meter sea dragon? How is this possible? In disbelief, Shirley immediately took out his divination crystal ball and performed another divination. The result of this divination shocked her very much. After Shirley saw the divination results, he was immediately shocked and said to Neptune next to him in disbelief, "Your Majesty, the crisis seems to have been resolved. The crisis is over." Her divination accuracy was 100%, but it was also broken by Roja. Shirley saw unprecedented hope in Roya. From Roja, Shirley discovered for the first time that the future can be changed. At this time, Shirahoshi came to Roja's side and excitedly held Roja in his arms. Feeling Shirahoshi's tenderness towards him, Roja felt like he was falling into a warm ocean. This feeling is really an unprecedented experience. Shirahoshi, please relax, I can't breathe anymore." Hearing Roja's words, Shirahoshi's pretty face suddenly turned red. Seeing this, Shirahoshi quickly let go of Roja. He said to Roja, "Yes, I'm sorry, Roja, I didn't mean it." Okay, it's just a small matter." Or the Tomb of Heroes of Woman Township. Roya almost couldn't breathe just now. At this time, Neptune also came to Roja's side. "By Gil, what's going on now? As the king can see, Xiaohai is already my mount." Hearing Roja's words, even though Neptune had already predicted it, he raised his eyebrows and was extremely shocked. At this time, Neptune was even more determined to make good friends with Roja. On the other side, Ein's phone rang. Because Roja didn't have the habit of carrying a phone bug with him, the phone bug stayed with Ein most of the time. "Lord Fleet Admiral." "Ein, where is the white pigeon? What is happening on Fishman Island now?" "Reporting to Lord Fleet Admiral, everything is fine on Fishman Island now. Admiral White Dove is now next to King Neptune. Give the phone bug to Baigu immediately." "Yes, Lord Fleet Admiral." A trace of worry flashed in Ein's eyes. From just now, the signs of fighting seemed to be weakening, which made Ein very worried about Roja's safety. "I happened to be able to make calls through the Warring States phone bug, so I went to Neptune's to see what was going on." Ein quickly came to Roja's side. She didn't say much. She said to Roja simply and neatly, "Admiral White Pigeon, Lord Fleet Admiral is looking for you." Taking the phone from Ein's hand, Roja had a gentle smile on his face and answered softly, "Sir Fleet Admiral." "White Pigeon, Marina Fando is now bursting into flames, as if they are erupting from the bottom of the sea. Have you seen anything on Fishman Island?" While Warring States was talking, he was also listening carefully to the voice coming from the phone bug, to make certain judgments. In this regard, Roya said lightly, "Sir Fleet Admiral, King Neptune said that this is just a chain reaction caused by the eruption of one of the submarine volcanoes." "Really? King Neptune is here now. Can you hand the phone bug to King Neptune?" Neptune frowned, but still took the phone from Roya's hand. "King Neptune, this is Marine Fleet Admiral Sengoku. Is it really a chain reaction caused by the eruption of an undersea volcano?" After hearing what Warring States said, Neptune naturally stood on Roya's side and said for Roya, "Yes. King Neptune, please excuse me." After confirming it from Neptune, Sengoku felt completely relieved. At this time, Garp came to Warring States' office. "Warring States, have you found the reason? Don't tell me that mysterious man can move freely under the sea." Warring States breathed a sigh of relief and said, "No, it was confirmed by King Neptune that it was a chain reaction caused by the eruption of a submarine volcano. If it is really that mysterious person, it will be even more terrifying. It can cause damage in the deep sea. With this kind of power, I am afraid that its strength has surpassed that of you and me." Garp nodded in agreement, but then he began to laugh heartlessly. "Okay, Sengoku, isn't it confirmed now? Don't think so much, let's go and see it together. Akiji, I heard he is very tired. He has used Ice Age more than 20 times, ha 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 ha." Hearing Garp's heartless laughter, Singwa couldn't help but have a slight smile on his lips. Inside the Fishman Island, Luoya and others also returned to the Dragon King's palace. Regarding Roha's subjugation of Hailong, Neptune and others had a tacit understanding and did not mention it. Shirley also returned to his Fishman Cafe. Because of Roha's relationship, she knew that even the determined future could be changed. By Gu, if you can agree to the engagement, there will be no problem even if you come to sit as the future king. Neptune didn't hold back at all. He said it in front of the three brothers Shark Star, Car Star, and Emperor Star. As if aware of Roha's gaze, the three brothers immediately said, "If we can make Fishman Island develop better, we have no objections." Neptune bet everything he had on Roha. Shirahoshi was next to her, looking at Roha expectantly. She very much hoped Roha would agree. At this time, the atmosphere in the Dragon King's palace was a bit strange. However, Roha also considered Neptune's words. "Since you, the king, have said so, just call me Roha from now on. I will definitely let the world accept the people of Fishman Island." Upon hearing Roya's words, Neptune's eyes suddenly lit up. This means that Roha agreed. Okay. 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 Ha 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 ha, come, let's have a banquet to celebrate. Neptune felt very happy in his heart, and laughed out loud immediately. Shirahoshi also understood what Roha meant, and his pretty face was already blushing. I saw that Shirahoshi was very delicate and charming, and said to Roha, "Roya, please give me more advice in the future." In the Dragon King's palace, Roya and Shirahoshi made a marriage contract. It was agreed that when Shirahoshi comes of age, the engagement ceremony will be held to announce it to the world. Neptune naturally agreed to Roha's request. After living in the Fishman Island for one night, Roya left the Fishman Island, riding on the coated warship, preparing to return to Marineland. But at this moment, his phone rang again. "Bulu Bulu, Bulu Bulu. Sir Fleet Admiral, the mission has been completed, and now I am preparing to return to Marinefando. By Gu, I have 100% confidence in your ability, but now I have a very urgent mission. Please return as quickly as possible." When Roha heard Sengoku's words, a gleam flashed in his eyes. "Yes, Lord Fleet Admiral." Roha's eyes narrowed slightly. He was very curious about the very important task that Warring States said. Without further ado, Roha immediately used the 100-turn Phantom to control the warship and sail quickly towards Marine Fando. This time, because it was rising, the speed was faster than before. In less than a day, Luoya and others returned to the sea. As for the sea dragon that Roha conquered, Roha left it to guard the Fishman Island. After all, his current fiancée is in Fishman Island, and he doesn't want some people without eyes to go to Fishman Island. Driving the warship, Roha headed towards Marinefando. But as he gradually approached, the three people on the warship only saw the mess above Marine Fando. All kinds of sea fish are collected at the port by people in the kitchen holding small baskets. If nothing else, these fish will be made into delicious dine-in meals. The craftsmen in the dock are also constantly repairing warships and ships. Luoya immediately realized that this should be the result of the slash he sent out under the sea. It does seem a bit embarrassing to look at it this way. After boarding Marine Fando, Roha quickly walked towards Sengoku's office. As for Ain, he took Stella and returned to his room. Knocking on the door, Roha walked into Warring States' office. "Sir Fleet Admiral, what's the matter?" When Warring States saw Roha coming back, his frown suddenly seemed to relax a lot. "It's good that you're back. Sit down and rest for a while. Akiji and Kizaru will come over in a while." Roha nodded slightly, then casually found a seat, sat down and fell asleep. At their level, even if they don't sleep for several days and nights, there is no problem, as long as they control their physical exertion. After a while, the door of Warring States' office opened again. Akiji and Kizaru, two generals, walked in from outside. Together with Roha, they happened to be Marine's top 3 generals. Roha opened his eyes, looked at Akiji and Kizaru approaching, and gestured with a smile. "At the same time, I have high expectations in my heart. What is the urgent task that can bring together the 3 generals?" However, Roja suddenly noticed that Akiji's face was full of exhaustion. He couldn't help but ask, "Akiji, have you just returned from completing your mission? Why do you look so tired?" Hearing Roja's words, Akiji sighed and said, "It's okay, it's just some small things." Originally, Akiji didn't intend to say it. After all, this kind of thing was a bit embarrassing, but Kizaru next to him was not afraid of the trouble. He said to Roja, "It's not because of the chain reaction caused by the eruption of the submarine volcano. Akiji can use having lived through more than 20 ice ages. How can you not be tired?" Hearing Kizaru's words, the corners of Roja's mouth subconsciously rose. "I thought to myself, Akiji, I'm really sorry for troubling you. I will use less force next time and I will never let you be so tired." If Akiji knew that the instigator of this time was right next to him, I don't know what he would think. At this time, Warring States pretended to cough, attracting everyone's attention. "Okay, this time there is an urgent task that you need to do." "Okay, but terrible, what kind of mission is it that requires 3 generals to gather here?" Kizaru asked Sengoku in his own way of speaking as usual. Warring States pulled out a reward order from the drawer next to him. On this reward order, there was a pirate wearing thick lipstick and light purple eyeshadow, a pirate hat, and a large pink dress. When seeing this reward notice, Akiji subconsciously said her title. "Big Mom." That's right, in the New World, the 4 emperors were first established, and Charlotte Lin, one of the 4 emperors, planned to hold the first tea party. By then, many underground forces will be invited to come over. We must catch her off guard and make her first tea party directly ruined. If possible, it would be best to defeat Big Mom. Sengoku paused and then said, "So Roja, you are one of the people who must go this time. For the remaining person, you can choose from Kizaru and Akiji." In the Warring States period, Roja's strength was the strongest. It will obviously be better if he leads the team. Roja nodded slightly when he heard what Warring States said. If he can complete this task, then he can be said to be directly ahead of Akiji and Kizaru in terms of accumulation of military exploits. In addition, Kizaru's character will definitely not compete for the position of Fleet Admiral, so this time, it is best to choose Kizaru. Yes, when he received the oath agreement, Roja planned to take the next step and become Fleet Admiral, replacing Sengoku's position. In this way, we are carrying out related movements among the people of Fishman Island. Thinking of this, Luo Adam immediately said to Sengoku, "Sir Fleet Admiral, let Kizaru join me for this mission. After all, I see too much tiredness on Akiji's face, so I'd better let him be there. Let's take a good rest at the headquarters." Each of the 3 generals has a 4-month stay period. The so-called stay-at-home period means being guarded in Malinfando. Generally speaking, it was Kizaru who fished in the headquarters, and Luoya had never stayed behind. After all, Roja couldn't sit still. After hearing Roja's words, Sengoku nodded immediately. "In this case, Akiji, please step back first, have a good rest, and exercise your abilities by the way." "Yes, Lord Fleet Admiral." Akiji thinks the same way now. After using Ice Age more than 20 times, he immediately exhausted himself. This made Akiji want to work harder. Ever since, with the help of Roya's friendship, Akiji also wanted to train himself hard. Just like Akainu before. Today's Akiji and Akainu, compared to the original work, the current strength has grown up a lot. At this time, the Warring States period began to arrange tasks. In Warring States' office, Roja and Kizaru sat in front of Sengoku, listening to Sengoku's arrangements. At this time, Roja said to Warring States, "Sir Warring States, you should know my abilities. I want to go in directly and openly and mix into the people attending the tea party. When the time comes, whether it is to launch an attack or make a strategic retreat, we can all do better." At the end, Luoya added, "It would be easier if you could get me an invitation letter." Roja seemed to just mention it casually, but it was Roja who did it deliberately. Because Luoya knew that one of the leaders of the dark world of pirates, Queen Stussy of Happy Street, whose true identity is a member of CP0. Roja just wanted Sengoku to expose Stussy in front of him. Warring States apparently also thought of Stussy under Roha's hint. After constant thinking, Warring States said to Roha, "There is no problem with this. I will send you a confidential document later, and I will also get you the invitation letter. Sir Fleet Admiral, this time I will go in alone. Kizara and the others can stand by in the distance, waiting for my news." Roha's thoughts were similar to what Warring States had just thought about. Warring States took out a golden phone bug from the drawer and handed it to Roha. "Roya, this is the golden phone bug, also called the Buster Call bug. But Roha, if you really want to launch the Buster Call this time, you must ensure success. The Buster Call cannot fail again." Luoya naturally knew what the Warring States' words meant. Because of Roha's other identity, the existence of a mysterious man. As a result, Marine's Buster Call always failed. Marine was put under great pressure. Although later on, it was also because of Roya's existence that Marine regained a lot of face. But Sengoku must also be extremely careful when using Buster Call. Afraid of failing again and humiliating Marine. After taking the golden phone bug from Sengoku's hands, Roha and Kizaru confirmed the details of the battle and then left Sengoku's office. Today is rest, Roha will set off tomorrow. So, Roha came to his room. But he found that Stella and Ain were in the kitchen, helping each other to make delicious dishes for him. "Master, you are back, the food will be ready soon." Roha told Stella before that just call her Roha. But Stella always insisted on calling her that. Afterwards, Roha said nothing more. Roha sat in his seat and said to Ain and Stella, "I'm going on a mission tomorrow. You two stay here and exercise yourselves." After hearing what Roha said, Ain came to Roha and said to Roha, "Lord Roha, I also want to go on a mission with you." "No, this mission is very dangerous." "Be good, I won't take you with me on this mission first. Please train here with me." After saying these words, Roha turned to look at Stella and said to Stella, "Stella, you should also train well, even if it is to increase your physical strength. I will see if I can give you some help for this mission. Find a better fruit." Stella's beautiful eyes suddenly shrank when she heard Roha's words. The whole person looked at Roha in disbelief, and said to Roha, "Master, there is no need for this, I was just a slave before." Before Stella could finish speaking, Roha stretched out his hand and rubbed Stella's hair gently. "As I said, you are no longer a slave. You are my friend and my partner. Isn't it good to help your partner so that she has stronger strength and can realize more dreams on the sea?" Stella's heart was shocked. Tears seemed to be uncontrollable, falling from the corners of Stella's eyes. She looked at Roha's figure, as if she wanted to imprint Roha's figure in her mind. Stella said to Roha in a slightly crying voice, "Master, my dream is to stand behind you forever, washing and cooking for you." Ain on the side looked slightly strange when he heard Stella's words. For some reason, she always felt that Stella seemed to be confessing her love. But even Ain himself was a little unsure about this feeling. Because she did feel a completely different feeling from Roya than other people. It seems that there are countless secrets in Roha's body, waiting for her to explore. Coupled with Roha's gentle smile, Ain always couldn't control his gaze and looked at Roha. "Lord Roha, no matter what the mission is, please protect yourself. Don't worry, I will do it. I never do anything I'm not prepared for." Soon, the time came to the next day. After getting the invitation letter from Warring States, Roha took a super luxurious ship and headed towards Cake Island. And this invitation letter was obviously provided by Stussy using his own identity. However, before setting off, Warring States repeatedly emphasized that each other's identities must not be revealed. You must know how difficult it was for CP0 to cultivate Stussy into a giant in the dark world. It represents a huge amount of material and financial resources. Lying on the sun lounger, Roya enjoyed the afternoon sun. The sun hits your body, giving you a different kind of comfort. His current identity is that of an arms boss, and he is extremely generous. The boat under the chair also represents financial strength. Just when Roha felt like he was about to fall asleep, his phone rang. Because this time, he went on a mission alone. So the phone bug was naturally warned by Luoya. "Bulu bulu buru bulu." "Robin?" After seeing the appearance of the phone bug, Roja directly used Shaver to reach the mast of the ship. Standing at the top of the ship, letting the sea breeze blow his hair, he answered Robin's call. As soon as the phone worm picked up, he heard Robin's voice coming from the phone worm. Brother Luoya, just now the Big Mom pirates came over and sent us an invitation, saying that they would invite you to participate in the first tea party. Who sent it there? Roja was a little confused about Auntie's move. It was sent by a silver-haired, long-legged sister with a big sword on her back. After hearing Robin's words, Roja roughly guessed who the person who went to O'Hara to send the invitation was. If he guessed correctly, it should be Smoothie, one of the 3 dessert generals under Auntie. Brother Luoya, do you really need this invitation? Do we need to send it to you? Robin's voice came from the phone bug. Luo Adam immediately said, No need, I will go there myself. Hearing Roja's words, Robin was immediately overjoyed. Really? Brother Luoya, do you want to come in person? Of course, it just so happens that I haven't come to see you for a long time. As Roja's words fell, a phantom appeared next to Roja that was exactly the same as him. As for the main body, he directly used the talisman and soared into the sky without anyone noticing. Although as the distance increases, the physical exertion will also become greater and greater. But if it was just a phantom, there would be no problem. Roja maximized the power of the spell. Finally, as night fell, we arrived at O'Hara. At this time, Roja, with the help of the fantasy fruit, had put on a cloak. Robin and Alvia, after receiving the news from Roja, came to the shore of O'Hara and waited for Roja. Brother Luoya, Robin misses you so much. Robin only felt that his body seemed to be out of his control, and he rushed towards Roja. Holding the flower-like Robin in his arms, Roja looked at Alvia beside him. At this time, Alvia handed the invitation letter in her hand to Roja. Freeing up a hand, Roja accepted the invitation. Then, Roja squatted down, looked at Robin, and asked Robin, Robin, have you exercised your fruit abilities recently? Robin nodded vigorously and said, I feel like I'm going to reach fruition awakening in a while. When Roya heard Robin's words, he was stunned for a moment and subconsciously asked, Really? Of course it's true. I will never deceive Brother Luoya. With that said, Robin left Roja's arms, then crossed his hands on his chest, and his aura suddenly changed. Colorful colors, huge trees, slapping palms. I saw countless hands suddenly growing on the ground, forming a huge palm almost in the blink of an eye. The palm was raised high, and then hit hard on the sea. In an instant, huge waves arose on the sea's surface. The deafening sound echoed on the sea. Seeing this scene in front of him, Roja felt that Robin was really a genius. Come to think of it, Robin's talent is already very good. Because of his own existence, Robin's experience did not develop towards the original work, and he continued to work hard for survival. Plus Alvia and Robin, it's not like we're overly chasing history right now. So all the extra time was used by Robin to train his own fruit. Robin's strength now seems to be close to the level 2 years later in the original work. Seeing Robin working so hard, Roja was also very pleased. Robin, come on. Well, Brother Luoya, I will definitely work hard. Robin nodded vigorously to Roja. After chatting with Robin and Alvia for a while, Roja released Noah's Ark and sailed towards Cake Island. Cake Island. When Samuji just came back, he came to the aunt. Mom, the invitation has been sent, but I didn't see him. I only saw another guy in a cloak who looked bigger. Well, this shows that they are indeed organized. In this case, we will continue our previous plan and win over anyone we can. If such a strong person can join our pirate group, then I will be far away from my dream. All nations will be one step closer. Yes, Mom. Smoothie stood in front of the aunt and said, However, there must be no mistakes in the security measures at the tea party, especially Marine's lackeys. They must not be let in. They will be investigated strictly by me. Anyone found out will be executed on the spot. At this time, all the eyes on the sea were attracted by the aunt's actions. As one of the 4 emperors, this is the first time for Aunt to hold such a large-scale event. No matter who it is, they can detect the unrest inside. For this reason, the aunt also transferred all her children back to ensure that the first tea party can go smoothly. Over time, one by one, the big bosses in the dark world came to Cake Island one after another. At this time, Roja also used the power of the phantom fruit to change his appearance. He became like an arrogant and domineering rich man, holding his big belly and heading towards the Cake Island. Just when Roja set foot on the island, Katakuri, one of the 3 dessert generals, stopped Roja. "Please show me your invitation." Seeing this, Luoya pretended to frown. "What's going on with Big Mom? You invited me here, but you did this to me. Who do you think I am?" "I'm the arms tycoon Howardy. See? I haven't heard of you. Take out your invitation letter, otherwise I will kill you on the spot." Katakuri stared blankly at the paunchy man in front of him. But at this moment Stussy, the queen of Happy Street, walked over from the port very elegantly. "I said ease, if you just take out the invitation letter, wouldn't it save you so much trouble?" Stussy said as she handed her invitation letter to Katakuri. After Katakuri verified Stussy's invitation, he respectfully said to Stussy, "Welcome, Miss Stussy." Howardy, pretending to be Roya, held his belly and looked very unfriendly. He snorted coldly, "It's just a watchdog. Here. Look at the invitation carefully. Howardy his name." With that said, Roja threw the invitation letter in Katakuri's face. But Katakuri took it down easily. The big bosses in the dark world around them saw this scene in front of them, and thought that this EC seemed very powerful. Although they seemed to have never heard of Howard Ice's name, they knew Stussy, which meant that the level should not be lower than them, or even above them. Not only the people around him thought so, but Katakuri also thought so. To be so arrogant and know Stussy, he must be a very powerful boss. Can't offend. Suppressing the resentment in his heart, Katakuri said to Roya after reading Roya's invitation, "Howard Ace, welcome to the tea party." Howard Essence, disguised as Roy, followed closely behind Stussy and walked towards the depths of Cake Island. Stussy looked Roja up and down, covered his mouth and chuckled. "By guh, I heard your character is not like this. I just want to tease Katakuri. But your fruit ability is really easy to use. If you join CP0, you will definitely be the most powerful CP0. No, I think it's good to be a general." Roja held his belly, which was made with phantom, and smiled slightly. Stussy stopped talking to Roya because she saw the newspaper tycoon Morgans in the distance. And Roja didn't pay attention and started walking around the Cake Island casually. Start observing the terrain and distribution of people here in advance. At the same time, above the sky, Roja's true body is on Noah's Arkansas. He is wearing a cloak and is surrounded by a biting hurricane. Ding! Release the check-in mission. Cake Island, reward perfect. 8 gates to Injia formation. Time, 3 days. Hearing the electronic sound in his mind, the corners of Roja's mouth raised slightly. It's finally here. I'm really looking forward to the perfect 8 gates armor formation. The corners of Luoya's mouth raised slightly, and then he stretched in a rare way. After all, this feeling of being able to become stronger as long as you are strong is really great. In a blink of an eye, 3 days passed. At this time, the tea party officially started. Although Auntie hasn't come out of the palace yet, she is already surrounded by Auntie's men. Even the 3 generals and stars now all appear in front of everyone. I heard that Aunt invited that mysterious man. Why didn't I see him? He couldn't be afraid, so he didn't come, right? Who knows? Maybe he doesn't want to participate? I feel really curious. What does he look like? While everyone was discussing, Roja came to the waters near Cake Island unhurriedly. As the distance between him and the phantom became closer and closer, Roja consumed less and less energy. At the same time, after Phantom's 3 days on Cake Island, he also had a thorough understanding of the terrain and personnel distribution on Cake Island. The shadow of Noah's Ark was projected from the sky. Everyone on Cake Island looked up at the sky. The bright sunshine just now is no longer there, there is just a huge ship. When everyone on Cake Island saw this scene in front of them, their pupils suddenly shrank. They looked shocked and had no idea what was going on. Whose ship is this? I've never heard of it at all. Are the ships flying in the sky Golden Lions? Have you forgotten? The Golden Lion has been defeated by that mysterious man. I've heard that the mysterious man seems to have the same ability as the Golden Lion. Why do I remember it was the monstrous flames and sword skills? Having said that, I feel like this mysterious man is really scary. Did Auntie invite him here too? I didn't expect that he actually came. The people below were all discussing with each other. They were all curious about what the mysterious man's face looked like underneath. Of course, they are more curious about how powerful the mysterious man really is. Noah's Ark slowly descended from the sky under Roja's control. I saw that the moment Noah's Ark landed on the sea, it suddenly stirred up waves. Roja wore a cloak and floated down from Noah's Ark, directly using the power of the spell. This scene was seen by countless big guys in the dark world. Stussy stood in the distance, as if talking to himself, and seemed to say to Morgans next to him, I always feel that his arrival is not a good thing, and it might cause turmoil. Seeing this, Morgan shook his head and said, This is the headquarters of the 4 emperors, and it is surrounded by Big Mom's men. Even if he is stronger, he cannot withstand the battle. So should we make a bet? Stussy said to Morgans with a smile on her face. Tell me, how to bet? Morgans rubs their 2 wings against each other like arms. It looks very cunning. There is no way. Who made Morgans look like a newspaper delivery bird enlarged several times? With 5 devil fruits, bet on whether this mysterious person will cause unrest on Cake Island. Do you dare? Stacy said to Morgans. Morgans thought about it carefully and put himself into the situation. If it were him, even if he had great strength, he would not act recklessly on Cake Island. After all, the risk is too great. Thinking of this, Morgans nodded immediately. Isn't it just 5 devil fruits? I agree. After hearing Morgans, he completely agreed to his bet. The corners of Stussy's mouth turned up into a more charming smile. The moment when Roya landed on the Cake Island. Only the electronic sound of the system sounded in Roja's mind. Ding! Congratulations to host for getting perfect 8 gates Dunjia formation. 8 gates Dunjia formation. There are 8 gates in total. Every time you open a gate, you can gain powerful power. When you open the final gate, the 8th gates, and the gate of death, you will not lose your life. It is the most perfect 8 gates armor formation. As the electronic sound of the system fell, Luoya felt that the method to open the 8 gates armor formation suddenly appeared in his mind. Under the cloak, Roja showed an inexplicable smile. At this time, Katakuri came to Roja. Please show me your invitation. Regarding Katakuri's appearance, Roja just turned his head. Suddenly, the aura from his body suddenly pressed on Katakuri's body. Facing Conqueror's haki, which was like a ferocious beast and countless times more powerful than himself, Katakuri was stunned. It wasn't until Roja strolled into the Cake Island that Katakuri came back to his senses. His eyes were full of shock at this time, and he only said, Okay, so strong. Although such terrifying Conqueror's domineering power was only unleashed on Katakuri, the onlookers were not ordinary people. Naturally, they also noticed Roya's tyranny in the aura just now. Roja didn't pay attention to everyone's gaze. To a kind person, he is naturally kind. But here, there is no one who is not contaminated with countless lives. In this case, the more disdain you have, the more respect they will have. After all, this is a world of the weak and the strong. But at this moment, Conqueror's domineering aura came from the palace. Who dares to be so arrogant in my tea party? In the palace, a slightly unpleasant female voice suddenly came out. Accompanying the spread of this sound is also mixed with the terrifying Conqueror's domination. However, I don't know if it was because of the tea party, but not many people would faint because of it. I saw the door to Cake Island slowly opening. The huge figure of the ant walked out from inside. Boom! 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 Every time Andy walks around, the moment her feet hit the ground screams. Behind her were Prometheus, who was already burning, and Zeus, who was covered in thunder and lightning. And just when Auntie came out completely and unleashed her conqueror's domineering spirit, Roja didn't show any signs of weakness. Boom! At this time, the sky was originally blue. It was immediately split into two halves. Behind Roja was the roaring wind, and behind Auntie was the thunder. The sky was perfectly divided into two halves in front of Roja and Auntie. Many of the big guys present were very surprised when they saw this scene in front of them. Is this the mysterious man's conqueror's hockey? Why do I feel that it is more domineering and more offensive than Big Mom's conquerors? This level of pressure is too terrifying. Faced with this situation, although many big bosses were very excited, they were also very cautious. After all, it is common these days to be beaten to death while watching a battle. At this time, Stussy looked at Morgans next to him, smiled at Morgans and said, "It seems that I won. This is nothing, it's just conqueror's competition, we haven't started yet." Upon hearing Morgan's words, Stussy just said, "Oh," as if she had already predicted the future. He said to the phantom next to him, that is, Howard Ice. "Ice, what do you think?" Howard East held his belly and said to Stussy, "I don't know, after all, I feel like this mysterious man looks so strong." Stussy added, "So do you think you can defeat this mysterious man in front of you?" Hearing Stussy's words, Morgans next to him shrank his pupils suddenly, and then looked at ISS next to him. She said in shock, "Stussy, what do you mean? Is this man really that powerful?" "I was joking," Stussy said, sticking her tongue out at Morgans. "It's just that this move made Roja look at it a few more times. Not because of anything else, but because he suddenly discovered that Stussy seemed to have other ideas." At this time, Roja also smiled slightly and said, "Yes, Stussy is joking. Do you think I can really defeat this mysterious man with my size?" Ha ha. As the laughter of Phantom fell, the real body that was confronting the ant was hidden at the corner of his mouth under the cloak. It is also rising slightly. Immediately afterwards, the two people seemed to have a tacit understanding and took back their conqueror's domineering attitude. I could only hear Auntie's loud voice, echoing on Cake Island. Mama, are you the mysterious person in the sea who has been rumored for a long time?" "It's me." Luoya suppressed his voice and said calmly to his aunt. The aunt looked at Roja in front of her and kept nodding. Yes, you can have such outstanding conqueror's domination. I think your true strength should be even more powerful." After the words fell, the aunt said again, "Katakuri, please give me a seat." "Yes, Mom." Katakuri was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted. He came to Roja in person and took Roja to the best position. When seeing this scene, all the bosses in the Dark World felt that Roja was about to board the big ship of Auntie. They have even begun to think about whether to invest more capital in Auntie. You know, in the Dark World, they are all full of human beings. They can see the trends on the sea better than anyone else. Stussy, if nothing else happens, I guess he won't take action. Instead, he will be sucked into the pirate group by Big Mom. You will lose to me. Oh, I'm looking forward to it," Stacy said to Morgans. Seeing Stussy's appearance, Morgans glanced at him and immediately came to their seats without saying anything. At this time, Roja also controlled the Phantom and reported to Warring States, signaling that the tea party has begun. Auntie sat in the largest seat, overlooking everyone. Next to them are 3 generals, as well as Roya, Stussy, Morgans, and 4 other people of the same level. After that, there will be Big Mom's children, and other pirate leaders, or other leader-like figures in the Dark World. Everyone, welcome to my first tea party. Please have a good time and have fun. The ant opened her hands and said to everyone. For the ant, holding a tea party is to consolidate her own power. The other is to gather these strong men. Finally, there are all nations. Because only by realizing the first 2, Auntie's last dream, can it be completely realized. Now, Auntie has taken a fancy to Roja. She wanted to subdue Roja into her own power. Mama, would you like to introduce yourself? After all, we don't know your name until now? When Stussy heard what her aunt said, her eyes suddenly lit up and she looked at Roya, who was wearing a cloak next to her. For this question, Roja had already thought of the answer. Just call me Zero. 0? Is it a code name? Auntie asked Roja. So be it. Hearing Roja's answer, everyone was shocked. Auntie is even thinking, if we subdue Luoya, can we indirectly subdue the organization behind Luoya? Come to think of it, the people in this organization who can be called Roja should not be very weak. Auntie is not the only one who thinks so. However, Auntie was the only one who dared to say this. Because she is the most powerful person present, besides Roja. As for the method of subduing Roja, Auntie still chose the method that had been tried and tested before. That is, marriage. I saw the aunt clapped her hands 4 times in total. Everyone who heard Auntie's applause stood up from their seats. Without exception, these people who stood up from their seats were all women. Auntie said to Roja, 0, of all the people who stand up, are there any that you like? The aunt paused for a moment and then said, if you like any one of them, you can tell me. No matter who it is, as long as I say a word, she can become your wife, and you can also directly become our big brother. A member of the family. Auntie still respects Roja. After all, Auntie really doesn't want to mess with someone who has such a powerful conqueror's domineering attitude. When Luoya heard what his aunt said, the corners of his mouth raised. Even for a moment, I couldn't control myself and laughed out loud on the spot. Ha 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 ha, Big Mom, are you serious about what you just said? Aunt, of course I am serious, you choose whatever you want. Isn't it a little bad to just treat your own children like this? Luoya's laughter just now disappeared in an instant, replaced by unprecedented seriousness. The women who stood up were obviously stunned when they heard Roja's words. They didn't expect that Roja would actually say this. This made them feel very touched, because no one had ever been willing to stand in their shoes and speak for them. The most touching one is the 35th daughter, Charlotte Pudding. Tears were already welling up in her eyes. When the aunt heard what Roja said, the smile on her face gradually disappeared. They are all my daughters, and naturally they are my tools. If they can't even perform the functions of tools, what else should I do with them? The aunt didn't care about their feelings at all and said these words directly in front of many people. So if I choose any of the tools at will, you won't feel bad, right? Certainly. Then I choose her, is that okay? Roja pointed to a woman not far away. This woman is a long-legged person, codenamed Minister of Juice. That's right, the person Roya is referring to is actually one of the 3 dessert stars, Smoothie. Smoothie was obviously very shocked when he saw Roya pointing at him. I saw something. This man actually wants to marry Samuji. This is unbelievable. This is simply Chiguagwa's provocation. Sure enough, after hearing Roja's words, the aunt's brows suddenly frowned. The aura from his body suddenly spread out. Are you looking for trouble? You know that Samuji is one of the 3 generals, but you want to marry her. Didn't you say that they are all tools? I thought you treated them equally? I didn't expect that they are also divided into 3, 6, and 9 levels. Those who are strong should use them well, and those who are weak will not feel bad even if they are used out, right? Roja looked at Big Mom in front of him with a smile. But under the cover of the cloak, they couldn't see Roja's expression at all. When Luoya said these words, the whole audience was in an uproar. Because this is considered a pirate group that openly provokes Big Mom. No, to be precise, it is the Charlotte family. Stuzy, who was right next to Roya, picked up a glass of red wine from the table, and then said to Morgans, "It seems that I am going to win this time." Just as Stussy's words fell, orange-red flames suddenly burned in the distance. "Big Mom, I'm here to challenge you. Let me see how powerful the 4 emperors are on the sea." As these words fell, the flames gradually condensed. I saw a man with black hair, a Madara bird on his cheek, and a tattoo with the word ASC on his left arm, where the S is a cross. A man wearing an orange cowboy hat with smile and sad badges on the brim rushed in from outside. When seeing this scene in front of him, Morgan smiled and said to Stussy, "Stussy, it seems I haven't lost yet." As Morgans finished speaking, Katakuri bounced from his seat in an instant and came to Ace. "Who are you? How did you break in? What do you want to do?" Faced with Katakuri's 3 consecutive questions, Ace laughed out loud. I am Fire Fist Ace from the East China Sea. As for what I want to do, of course I am here to challenge the 4 emperors. Ace added, since I came to the 4 seas, I have been hearing about the 4 emperors and some mysterious person. I just happened to hear that Big Mom, one of the 4 emperors, is holding a tea party, so I came over to have a look and challenge Big Mom. Roja looked at Ace in the sky and thought to himself, shouldn't this guy go find Whitebeard? Why come here to find Big Mom? You know Big Mom will not show mercy. Is it just you who wants to challenge, Mom? You'd better pass me first. I can knock you down in just 1 second. Ace shouted to Katakuri. Judging from Ace's current speculation, Roya felt that Ace had been out at sea for a long time. It's just that with the power of the burning fruit, you can completely torture most people, so you are so arrogant and arrogant. Thinking of this, Roja didn't intend to provoke Auntie anymore, because he is also very curious about what level Ace's strength has reached. Fire Punch. Ace turned his arm into a huge flame with extremely high temperature, and then used his own arm to attack Katakuri with a flame punch. As Ace finished speaking, fire clouds suddenly gathered. It turned into a huge flame with a thickness of several hundred feet, and rushed towards Katakuri like a broken bamboo. However, before Katakuri could see any movement, a flame that was more terrifying than Ace appeared in everyone's field of vision. Compared to the flames that enveloped the sky, Ace's fire fist was a bit lacking. Fire from heaven. Auntie holds Prometheus and devours Ace's flames easily. Ace was shocked, but he didn't wait for Ace to react. When he got angry that day, mixed with the power of Big Mom's soul fruit, he swallowed Ace's body. Only Ace's screams of pain were heard, coming from the fire in the sky. This is the first tea party. How can we allow people like insects to break in wantonly? Auntie can tolerate Roja a little bit because of Roja's strength and record. So now, it is absolutely impossible for Ace, who has just entered the family, to win the eyes of the ant. A guy from all over the world, doesn't he know that no matter who uses fire in front of me, he is asking for trouble? As Auntie's words fell, Luoya's cold voice reached everyone's ears. I also come from all over the world, and I also use fire. Big Mom, your words have offended me. Stussy saw Roja's next move and said to the Morgans next to her, remember to send my devil fruit to my happy street. Hearing Stussy's words, the corners of Morgan's mouth twitched sharply. At their level, there are still a lot of devil fruits, but they are all fruits that are so rubbish that they cannot be classified as rubbish. Although there are no garbage fruits, there are only garbage people. But it is really difficult to find such talented people. Therefore, in their eyes, this is garbage fruit. When the time comes, just give these fruits directly. However, Morgans can be said to be very unwilling now. Stussy, how about we make another bet? Oh, what are you betting on? It's still a devil fruit, but only 10. Let's bet on whether Zero can defeat Big Mom. Stussy looked at Roya, who was slowly floating upwards, and Big Mom. An inexplicable light flashed in his eyes. Okay, I agree, then I'll bet that Zero can beat Big Mom. Oh, do you just believe him that much? Morgans was curious as to why Stussy was so confident. Maybe it's a woman's intuition. Stacy smiled brightly at Morgans. Then he retreated violently. Not only Stussy was retreating, but other people also began to evacuate. Because both Luoya and Auntie burst out with unparalleled murderous intent. Zero, if I had known things would be like this, I shouldn't have changed my mind. It would be better to make your soul into a snack and eat it, Mama, but it's not too late now. As this was the first tea party, Auntie had already expected that there would be emergencies. It happened to be the mysterious man Roja. I thought that if I could completely defeat the mysterious man Roja, then the tea party in the future should be very simple. Do you really think you can beat me? Big Mom. Mama, use your full strength. Let me see how far your strength is from mine. I hope you can still laugh after a while. As Luoya's words fell, the fire in the sky was taken back by Auntie. Ace's figure came into everyone's sight. Ace's body was covered with burn marks. It seems that the fire in the sky, with the blessing of the soul fruit, can capture Ace's entity even without the need for armed hockey. Ace's body was weak and fell from the sky. Ace forced his will and wanted to control his body. But since he went to sea, he had never suffered such a serious injury. For a moment he had no way to do it. Just when Ace felt desperate, Roya suddenly stretched out his hand and activated the spell ability. Ace's silhouette slowly rose into the sky. If you don't go down in this situation, they might cut your body into pieces and watch from the sky. Watch how I trampled the so-called 4 emperors under my feet. When Roja finished speaking, he kicked his legs in the air. It was as if the air was being treated as a solid ground, and it suddenly flew out with a strong force. The power of the spell was brought into full play. Armed and domineering entangling. Armed and domineering entangling. When Anti saw Roya using his armed color hockey, he also used his armed color hockey. The people watching around were stunned when they saw the scene in front of them. Is this guy crazy? He actually wants to compete with Bigmom, known as the Steel Balloon, for his armed domineering. I'm afraid I'm going to lose miserably. This guy is so arrogant, you will be afraid of suffering. When Morgan saw this scene, he also smiled and said to Stussy. He didn't actually use the iconic roaring flames. He is really too arrogant. Morgans turned to Stussy and said, Looks like I won't lose this time. As one of CP0, Stussy is much stronger than Morgans in terms of strength. So regarding Roja's armed domineering power, she immediately noticed that it was the peak armed domineering power. He is on the same level as General White Pigeon, one of the 3 Marine generals. Thinking of this, Stussy glanced into the distance. That is the back of Phantom Is, who is reporting to the Marine headquarters. At the same time, the order was given to Kizaru. Prepare for the buster call. All work has begun. Get ready for the buster call. This time, Baijelua, as the commander, can command Kizaru, who is also a general, at will. This feeling is still very good. That's right, Roja is playing a big game. Above the sky, the corners of Roya's mouth slightly raised, in terms of armed and domineering confrontation. He is not afraid of anyone. Bang! Along with Roja and Anti, the fists of the 2 people collided with each other. Strong air currents surged out. The ground shook violently. There are already large areas of cracks on the ground beneath Anti's feet. Immediately afterwards, the ant felt pain, traveling down her arm and into her brain. Driving her huge body, she took a few steps back. Then he looked at Roja in disbelief and said subconsciously, Impossible, the peak of armed domineering. As the ant finished speaking, everyone present was in an uproar. Morgan's pupils suddenly widened a lot. The confidence on his face suddenly disappeared without a trace. It seems that, as expected, I won again this time. Stussy was full of charm, but her expression was filled with unprecedented confidence. Stussy glanced at Morgans, and then at Zero, who was looking proudly at the sky, thinking about his own way out. Yes, Stussy has her own ambitions, and she doesn't want to be CP0's lackey all the time. As she controls more and more power in Happy Street and the Dark World, the more unwilling she is to become the government of the world, a celestial dragon, and a lackey of CP0, she wants to go out independently and truly control her own life and death. Stussy, who has this kind of ambition, has been constantly looking for people who can help him since the birth of this idea. But until today, she truly discovered someone who has a great possibility of helping her. Zero, let's see if you can completely defeat Bigmom today. Stussy thought in her heart. At the same time, a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth that only she could understand. High in the sky, Luoya seemed to have turned on the venomous tongue mode. Bigmom, one of the 4 emperors, so you only have this kind of strength. Do you want to become my subordinate? I don't know why, but I always feel that you have a much better future as my subordinate than becoming the 4 emperors got it. In the ears of everyone, this is undoubtedly a very arrogant statement. This is even more exciting to Bigmom. You guy, go to hell, there is no need for people like you to exist on the sea. Anti's voice echoed in everyone's ears. It made countless people shudder. Especially her children knew that Auntie was really angry. Prometheus. Thundercloud Zeus. As Auntie's words fell, I saw 2 thunderclouds in the sun, which had been floating to the left and right of Auntie, that had been given forms by the soul fruit, and suddenly changed their forms. It seems that the power on his body is even more terrifying. Zero, let me have a taste and see how delicious your soul is. Fire from heaven! Thunder! I saw fire rising from the sky in my left hand and thunder in my right hand. Flames and thunder seemed to swallow up the entire sky. Thunder dragons and fire clouds filled the sky, intertwining with each other. It feels like the end of the world. It was these 2 terrifying skills that once again intertwined their hands. Rojas slowly stretched out his hand and said softly, "The proud man of heaven, the iron city wall, the dragon walking, the lion roaring, the tiger roaring, the wolf running, are collapsing. Cutting off the heaven and earth before, Bakudo S81. Cutting the sky." Boom! Just when Luoya finished speaking, the fire and thunder from the sky in Auntie's hand directly hit the sky created by Luoya. Thunder and flames spread along the transparent and huge defensive wall of Duankong. But he just couldn't hurt Roja. Luoya's relaxed and freehand style shocked everyone. What kind of fruit is this guy? There are so many changes. Is there any record of such a powerful fruit in the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia? I don't know. Could it be that it's a race that's rarer than demons or giants? Is it something like racial talent? There are different opinions, but no one can be right. Ace in the Sky saw this scene in front of him. I just felt that my eyes were twinkling with little stars. He looked at Roja with admiration. For the first time, he discovered that there were actually such powerful people in this world. Roja didn't care at all about what the people around him thought. This time he was just here to make trouble. Make a fuss as big as you can. Therefore, Roja continued to taunt. Big Mom, with your strength, you want to defeat me, isn't it a bit of a dream? As the flames and thunder dissipated, Roja cancelled Duankong, then yanked him in front of the ant, suppressed his voice, and said to Big Mom, "By the way, you want to know what happened to the nun and your friends? Dead?" Hearing Roja's words, Auntie's whole body trembled suddenly. The anger in his heart suddenly burst out. For emperors are angry. Zero. What do you mean? What do you know? Tell me quickly. Then defeat me. As Roja's words fell, his figure suddenly came to the ground. I saw Luoya's hands, slamming them on the ground, and said lightly, "Would style the birth of the wood world." A large amount of vitality followed the soil and immediately activated the surrounding trees. The ground began to shake. There are more and more cracks on the island. Dust began to rise, and everyone began to panic. What did he do? Why do I have an ominous premonition? Hey, I don't want to die here. At this time, the vines, roots, and branches are growing and spreading crazily. In an instant, a large number of pirates were swallowed up. A magnificent forest was formed. Morgans looked at all this with a look of madness on his face. He shouted excitedly to Stussy. "Stussy, I am very happy to encounter such big news, even if I lose to you, ha 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 ha." Stussy gave a faint smile. She knew Morgan's character. For the sake of news, you can do anything. Maybe the scene in front of him was the one he was most looking forward to, but couldn't imagine. Damn it, this guy actually changed Cake Island directly. You must protect me, this guest. With Katakuri beside him, he felt like his head was getting bigger. Between Roja and Big Mom, you can fight as you like. But they have to do the rest of the work. If this time, because of this battle, the participating VIPs died, this is something they absolutely cannot afford. Because this will lead to the second tea party and complete destruction. While Katakuri and others were supporting everywhere to prevent large-scale destruction, Big Mom's anger finally burst out. "Zero! I want you to die!" Auntie shouted these words in her own sharp and strange voice, and the killing intent contained in them could be felt even by people outside the island. Auntie roared angrily and stepped out. The ground cracked again. With her eyes red, she looked like she was on the verge of going berserk. Just listen to the ant yelling angrily. Napoleon! Power the country! Napoleon above his head heard Anti's shout, and a sharp blade instantly popped out from the top, being held tightly in Anti's hand. Armed domineering winds, from top to bottom, with a fierce momentum, slashed towards Roja. The sword's edge was so sharp that it struck down completely before Anti could wait. The strong wind suddenly rose, mixed with the surrounding soil, and rushed towards Roja. It formed a semicircular arc and hit the ground directly, chopping the roots of trees along the way with lightning speed. Call out! A dazzling slash. It filled everyone's eyes, making them all dumbfounded. They stood there dumbfounded, widening their eyes and looking ahead dreamily. However, in the face of this attack, countless people were stunned by it. Luo Ye's expression remained unchanged. I said, is it possible that your strength is only like this? Then what else are you doing with the 4 emperors? As Roja's words fell, he only heard Roja say again. 8 gates doing Jia formation gate of death open. Roja was not polite at all. He was the last door as soon as he came up. Red steam filled the body, like a flame. Luo Ye only felt that his body seemed to have no weight, and at the same time there was a huge warm current, which was constantly making large loops in the body. It made the body so relaxed that even Luo Ye felt that he could reach a distance of tens of meters with just one step. This feeling made Roja's eyes suddenly freeze. In an instant, Roja disappeared from the spot. A ghost-like figure appeared in front of Zhanji. Roja didn't even use the weapon to entangle himself. I saw both hands performing high-speed forward punches, attacking crazily towards the slashing point. Under this skill, the air is continuously compressed, and then spreads out in one breath. The air cannon is shaped like a tiger. This name is 8 Gates Dunjia Formation, Day Tiger. With Big Mom's power and Roja's Day Tiger, the two collide. A shocking loud noise rushed into everyone's ears. Boom! The whole earth seemed to be shaking and shaking. Boom! In fact, the earth seemed to be shattered by the impact of these two moves. The ground is also wailing, and the harsh sound reaches into the sky. The strong wind swept across the sky, making the dark clouds a little thicker. Everyone who saw this scene in front of them had horror written on their faces. As the earth continued to shake and the roots ravaged, Katakuri felt desperate. This guy is probably... It's too strong! But I feel so handsome inexplicably. Pudding subconsciously told this matter. In an instant, the surrounding family members all looked at Pudding. Pudding immediately changed into a dark personality. Only by destroying this face with my own hands can my mother feel relieved. Stop chatting, come here and help. We must protect all VIPs, understand? Yes, I understand, brother. However, they haven't waited for any action yet. Roja had already rushed in front of the ant. Roya's demon-like voice echoed in Auntie's ears. Big Mom, because you are so pitiful, I will tell you where the nun is. A smile appeared on the corner of Roja's mouth under his cloak. Before the ant could fully react, Luoya said to the ant in a voice that only the ant could hear. The nun is actually with you all the time. She is in your belly, being eaten by you. Lost. What? Auntie's heart is in shock. But this is not the end. Roja added. Not only the nuns, but also your previous partners were eaten by you one by one. Roja's words seemed to have turned into the strongest blade. Stab mercilessly on Auntie's most fatal weakness. Impossible! Impossible! You are definitely lying to me. Auntie's eyes were full of chaos at this time. She couldn't believe this was true, but her subconscious told her that Roja was absolutely right. Suddenly, Auntie seemed to have returned to the day when she, the nun, and her friends were separated. In a hazy moment, she exposed her weakness. Big Mom, known as the steel balloon, has a significantly reduced defense as long as it becomes violent. Even in Roja's view, he can kill with one strike. And this is the result Roja wants. Because he doesn't want to fight Big Mom for 3 days and 3 nights. This consumes too much physical energy for him. The most important thing is that as time goes by, there are too many variables. Roha couldn't guarantee whether her old lover Kaido would rush over to help after hearing the news. Or maybe the red hair wants to maintain the balance in the sea and ensure the existence of the 4 emperors, so he comes to help. Anyone coming over is not good news for Roha. So, take advantage of the moment when Auntie reveals her fatal weakness. Roha whispered softly. Everything in the forest is turned into ashes, Ryujin Jakka. As Roha's words fell, the monstrous flames came into everyone's sight. The raging flames like a river rose into the sky. In the blink of an eye, it radiates across the sky like lightning. The dark clouds are not here. Thunder and lightning are not here. The wind and rain are not here. Only dense flames filled the entire sky. Ace looked at the scene in front of him, and it could be said that he was extremely surprised. He also plays with fire. But he felt unprecedented heart palpitations from this flame. This is not like the heavenly fire that Auntie used before. It feels more like facing a superior flame. Just like the suppression between devil fruits. Awesome! This is too awesome! Ace's eyes were like stars, and he looked at Roha with indescribable admiration. That is the worship of the strong. Being able to use flames to such a superb level makes Ace admire him immensely. The flames were swallowed up again by Ryujin Jakka in Roha's hand. The flames wrapped around the blade made countless people feel as if they had been transported into an ice cellar. The biting cold air penetrated every part of their bodies. It even gave birth to a fear called Zero in their hearts. At this time, Stussy looked at Morgans next to him and chuckled at Morgans. It seems that this time, I won again. Stussy's eyes, like Ace's, were shining with a light that only they themselves could understand. As if to confirm Stussy's words, Roha, who was in the air, suddenly moved. He activated the 8 gates armor formation, and with Ryujin Jakka in his hand, he suddenly slid down from the air. A line of fire appeared in the sky. It's like it's imprinted in the air. When they looked at Roha again, they found that Roha had already come behind the ant, and began to slowly withdraw the knife. Just listen to Roha, in a voice that only he can hear, whisper. Now you can start the next plan. The phantom is in the distance took out the golden phone bug from his clothes, and then pressed the button on the phone bug without hesitation. Buster Call is activated. At the same time, Roha's slashing attack also completely exploded with its own power at this time. The bright sword light was released at this time, and flames spurted out. It was extremely dazzling and filled everyone's field of vision. Andy's arms, even her abdomen and waist slid down in a diagonal line. Blood bloomed suddenly. The scene in front of them caused many children of the Charlotte family to collapse on the ground. How is it possible? This is absolutely impossible. Mom, how could she be defeated? This is absolutely impossible. I don't believe it. This knife is really terrible, absolutely terrifying. I think starting from today, Big Mom's reputation will no longer be there, but Zero will be famous all over the world. No matter who it is, everyone who participated in this tea party can feel the terror of this knife. Extreme power. Extreme speed. The ultimate in control. Nothing is top-notch. However, just when the whole audience was shocked, a large number of dense shelling sounds echoed in everyone's ears. What's going on? What's going on with this shelling noise? Report to Katakuri-sama. Yes, it's Marine. Marine is here. When Katakuri heard the report from his subordinates, he was stunned for a moment, but he immediately reflected it. Bree! Brother, I'm here! Open the mirror world and we will retreat immediately. Auntie's screams of pain echoed in everyone's ears. Immediately afterwards, he fainted due to serious injuries. At this time, Katakuri naturally became the acting captain. Order Bree to open the mirror world and let them move in. In the mirror world, Boulay has a unique move after eating the mirror fruit. Unless Bree gives permission, no one can enter this world. Don't be too shocked when the VIP's presence saw the Big Mom pirates start running away. Are these guys just planning to evacuate like this? Damn it, they were the ones who invited us here, yet they just ignored us. I guess the position of 4 emperors has been taken away by that guy Zero. Since they have been defeated, the most important thing for them is to save their lives. I didn't expect that at the first tea party. Auntie would actually dig her own grave. Forget it, it's better not to say these things and run away quickly. As expected, this island is gone. Under the control of Roya, Ace slowly descended from the sky. Afterwards, Roja stopped talking to Ace and flew towards his Noah's Ark. He can leave now. The only thing left is the identity of Baiga. But at this moment, Ace caught up from behind. He endured the pain in his body, came behind Roya, and said to Roya, wait a minute, Zero. Roya ignored Ace and continued walking towards Noah's Ark. Zero, please let me join your organization. I want to be better trained in your organization and become a stronger person. I want to let those who look down on Sihai know how powerful our power is. Ace held his fist and said angrily to Roja, refuse, your power is too weak. Ace's talent is very good. After all, he is the son of One Piece. But he has a knot in his heart and is unwilling to use Conqueror's haki. Because he felt that this Conqueror's domineering spirit was inherited from Gold Roger. Therefore, except for saving Luffy once when he was young, he has never used it. And the dependence on fruits is also quite serious. Overall, the potential is huge, but it is not fully utilized. When Ace heard what Roja said, he was obviously very unwilling. He clenched his hands, feeling unspeakable frustration in his heart. Originally, he started from Donghai Windmill Village and headed towards the Great Waterway. All the pirates he met along the way were no match for him. This made him feel that his power was stronger than most people. So, I came to New World and wanted to prove my strength by defeating Big Mom. But the reality told him. The reason why he was so successful before was mainly because he was very lucky. The only pirates he encountered were weaker than him. I have never met anyone more powerful than myself. Because of this, after being defeated by Big Mom, he was saved by Roy again, which planted a seed in Ace's heart. He wants to become stronger. Please let me join. I want to become stronger. I want to gallop on the sea. At this time, there was no one around. They all turned into birds and beasts and scattered. Everyone on the entire island looked extremely panicked. Except for Roya and Ace. Roja's footsteps stopped. Turning around, he looked at Ace. Ace felt a little uneasy because he couldn't see Roya's eyes hidden under the cloak. He was very nervous and even had a little cold sweat on his forehead. You have potential, very strong potential. Hearing what Roja said, Ace was ecstatic, but when he just opened his mouth to say something, Roja said again, but I don't feel your determination to become stronger. After a pause, Roja used a voice that only Ace could hear. You have always been in conflict with the power of inheritance, haven't you? Son of Gold Roger. Time seemed to stand still at this moment. On an island of cakes filled with rhizome bulges. Ace's heart trembled suddenly, and he subconsciously said to Roja, how did you know? I know more things than you think. Luffy and Sabo, they are both your brothers, right? Every word Roya said made Ace's heart become even colder. He didn't know the person in front of him at all, but the person in front of him knew about the three brothers. Is it possible that this is the intelligence network of this organization? It's too powerful. If you don't want to regret it in the future, just accept this power. This is the power called guarding. After that, Luoya stopped taking care of Ace. Roy doesn't care whether Ace can understand or not. After all, he is not the only one left. But just when Roja turned around, a fairly good conqueror's domineering force suddenly appeared from behind Roja. At the same time, Ace took a step forward. He stretched out his fist and said to Roja, please let me join you. I want to become stronger and be able to use my own power to protect the people I want to protect in the future. Your understanding seems to be quite good. Now that you have solved the knot in your mind, congratulations on joining us. But let me tell you in advance, our training is very hard. No matter how hard it is, I'm not afraid, as long as I can become stronger. The power of the spell activates. Ace only felt his body flying uncontrollably. Flying with him was Noah's Ark not far away. I saw Roya and Ace, riding on Noah's Ark, quickly leaving from the air. Ace's eyes were sparkling. He shouted excitedly. Sailing in the sky, this is so awesome! By the way, Zero, what is the name of our organization? When Roja heard Ace's words, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. The name of the organization is Morning Bird. Morning and Evening Bird? Ace repeated it, but he didn't understand the meaning. So, Roja explained to Ace. The Morning and Evening Bird is the crow. Countless people hate crows, are afraid of crows, and think crows are the shinigami that bring death. But they don't know that crows are the most filial and well-behaved of all birds. The crow is the bird that symbolizes peace. The bird of peace. Ace's eyes suddenly flashed with brighter sunshine. At this time, he suddenly discovered that his eyes were filled with a vast blue sky. In every sense. On the sea, dozens of warships, led by Kizaru, sailed towards Cake Island. The shelling continued. Countless cannonballs landed on Cake Island. Among the roots and the earth, small nests were exploded. Suddenly, a shadow enveloped them. Kizaru looked to the sky. I saw Noah's Ark rising continuously. No hesitation. Kizaru took out the phone bug in his arms and reported to Baigu. General Baigu, there should be the mysterious man's ship above. Do we need to stop it? No need, our purpose this time is to destroy the Big Mom pirates. Yes. Kizaru, I invite you this time. You must use your full strength. I will pay you 3 times your salary. Hearing Roja's words, Kizaru's eyes suddenly lit up. Oh la, then I will thank you, General Beige. As Kizaru finished speaking, he suddenly turned into a ray of light and flew quickly towards Cake Island. At this time, Roja used the power of the fantasy fruit to transfer his body to the identity of Baigu. Stretch out your hand and snap your fingers in the air. Luo Ye's disguise suddenly shattered. Roja showed a gentle smile. The next second, Roja clasped his hands together, and the white aura on his body continued to spread out. Susanoo White Pigeon! The peak of armed color and domineering coverage. The white of Susanoo and the domineering black of the armed color blend into each other, just like the fusion of yin and yang. Shave! I saw that Roja used the peak of Marine 6 styles to continuously harvest the lives of those pirates. Continuously reducing the power of the Big Mom pirates. Because most of the immediate family members have already entered Bree's mirror world. Katakuri looked at Marine as he gradually landed on the island, clasping his hands with indescribable emotions on his face. Without staying any longer, Katakuri was the last one to go to the mirror world. Mirror world is closed. The Big Mom pirates all disappeared on Cake Island. But this does not mean that there is no one on Cake Island. On the contrary, there are still many forces under the Big Mom pirates group. These forces are the targets of Marine's suppression this time. Because many people attending this tea party did not carry weapons. The weapons are basically all on the ship. Therefore, most people are more or less unable to exert their full strength. Under the crazy attack of White Pigeon Roya, many people were defeated by Roya. And Kizaru also heard that after Roja said that he would pay 3 times the salary, he started the all-out mode. A large number of light bombs poured down from the sky. At this time, the strength of General Kizaru was thoroughly engraved in the hearts of all Marines. I didn't expect General Kizaru to be so powerful. I always thought that General Kizaru was just trying to catch a fish, but it turns out he is so powerful. This is simply unbelievable. General Kizaru is too strong. General White Pigeon or General Kizaru, who is more powerful? If you don't have time to think about these things, you might as well accumulate military merit and work hard to climb up, right? Roja didn't know when he suddenly came to the side of the Marine soldiers and said to them, General White Pigeon! The Marine soldiers were so frightened that they directly gave Roja a military salute. Roja waved his hand carelessly. He said softly, I've been quite tired these days. Most of the island has been cleaned up. You guys go over and search. I'm going to take a rest. Yes. General Beige. After receiving Roya's order, these Marine soldiers came to Cake Island and began a crazy sweep. trying to plunder everything on Cake Island. There are even many greedy people who plan to take action here. But when they searched the entire island, they didn't find even a single Bailey. Damn, what is going on? Did someone get in first? No, it should have been taken away by the Big Mom pirates and others. I don't believe it, keep searching. The fighting spirit of those marine soldiers was completely ignited. They don't believe that there won't be even a single Bailey on Auntie's home base, Cake Island. They must not have looked carefully enough. So, they even found Kizaru. Use countless treasures to seduce Kizaru and completely destroy Auntie's palace on Cake Island. However, I still haven't found even one Bailey. Behind Luoya, wearing a robe of justice, watching the scene in front of him, an inexplicable smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It's really more barbaric than pirates. After saying this, Roja slowly returned to the warship and his room. At this time, Morgans, as a representative of super efficiency, had already worked overtime to print the newspaper. Then through the newspaper bird, began to drop into the sea. Mysterious Organization 0. Destroy the Big Mom pirates at the beginning. Buster call to Cake Island. Marine's arrogant plan. Countless attractive titles were printed on the first panel, attracting everyone's attention. The names of General Baigu and Zero once again spread crazily on the sea. No matter which island it is, most of the people on it have heard of the names of these two people. Moby Dick. Whitebeard was lying on a huge chair, listening to Marco next to him, reporting on the recent situation on the sea. Marco just bought a newspaper from the newspaper bird for 200 belly. The moment it was opened, everyone was stunned. Marco's expression attracted the attention of other crew members. Marco, looking at your expression, it seems a little strange. Did something happen on the sea? Hurry up and say no more ink stains, you're still not a man. The crew member next to him said to Marco. Marco came back to his senses and immediately said to everyone, Big Mom was defeated by that mysterious man, and that mysterious man is called Zero. And there is an organization behind him. In just a few words, all the crew members on the ship were completely stunned. The entire ship seemed to have fallen into complete silence. The white beard holding the medicine bottle also completely darkened his face at this time. I didn't expect that Auntie's tea party would directly fail. This sea is going to become even more chaotic. Whitebeard's words echoed on the ship. At this moment, a crew member came to Whitebeard with a fruit. Dad, don't think about those unhappy things. I just caught a fruit from the sea. When Blackbeard heard these words, he turned around and looked at the captain, holding the fruit in his hand, and his pupils shrank suddenly. Blackbeard thought in his heart, dark fruit, mysterious organization. The contents of newspapers continued to ferment in the sea. After Kaido saw the newspaper, he tore it up completely. The newspaper turned into crumbs and was thrown aside by Kaido. Auntie, it seems that during this period, you have not given priority to improving your own strength. What you said about all nations is just nonsense. The best way is to improve your own strength. Kaido was talking to himself sincerely. But the ant didn't hear it. Because they are all recuperating in Bree's mirror world. This is a very good place for aunties. At the same time, Kaido also remembered Zero's name in his heart. For Emperor's Redhead. I also saw this newspaper at this time. Big Mom has been defeated. It seems that the sea is going to be completely chaotic. The red-haired man sighed and put the newspaper away. Standing on the boat, looking through the sea, I don't know what I am thinking. Ever since Roja defeated Big Mom, those people on the sea have vaguely respected Roja as the Four Emperors. Even a man who can rival Whitebeard. Roja didn't pay attention to these completely useless titles at all. He just took Ace to an island where he could practice. Then he put away Noah's Ark and dispelled the Phantom at the same time. On the other side, Roja and others also returned to Marinefando at this time. When Roya and Kizaru returned to Marineland, they immediately came to Sengoku's office. Warring States had already received the news and knew that this Buster Call was a complete victory. However, there are no trophies. Tell me, what on earth is going on? Sengoku crossed his arms and looked at Kizaru and Roja in front of him and said, Kizaru shrugged and looked at Roha next to him, feeling a little depressed. After all, the salary increase that Roha told him was the bonus he got from this loot. But now, I don't see even one pele on the cake. He felt that his triple salary might be in vain. Reporting to Fleet Admiral Sama, I returned to the warship after cleaning up the miscellaneous soldiers. All collection tasks were completed under the leadership of Kizaru. What Roha meant was that it had nothing to do with him at all. Kizaru nodded to this. He knew that during this period, Roha had been using his abilities to maintain his phantom in disguise, and was very tired. After taking care of the miscellaneous soldiers, he returned to the warship and handed over the collection task to him. Therefore, this mission report should be reported by yourself. Reporting to Lord Fleet Admiral, we have searched various places on Cake Island, but we have never found even a Bailey. So I think the Big Mom pirates should have transferred all their wealth to the mirror world long ago. Sengoku nodded thoughtfully. Anyway, Marine's reputation has been completely destroyed this time. After Sengoku sighed, he said to Roha and Kizaru, "Thank you for your hard work this time, please take a good rest." Roha and Kizaru exited Sengoku's office. Roya said to Kizaru again, "General Kizaru, I know that there is a very delicious barbecue restaurant in the Sabaody Islands. Let's go and try it together." "Oh really? Okay." When Kizaru heard about the barbecue restaurant, his eyes lit up immediately. His favorite thing is barbecue and sake. Finally, Kizaru said to Roha, "Then if you pay, I pay." "Of course it's no problem." "Then let's go," Roha said to Kizaru, and then Peach Shaver started, and Roha's speed suddenly soared. Not to be outdone, Kizaru turned into a ray of light, and also sailed towards the Sabaody Islands quickly. In about a minute, the two people arrived on the Sabaody Islands. The two people arrived at almost the same time. When Kizaru saw Roha, who had also arrived at the Sabaody Islands like him, he immediately said, "General White Pigeon, I didn't expect you to be so fast. I really didn't expect it. This is just a trivial matter. Let's go and taste the delicious food in that store." With that said, Luoya took Kizaru to Aunt Xiao's rip-off bar. When Aunt Xiao saw Luoya and Huang Yuan, she was stunned for a moment, but she quickly reacted. "Welcome, would you two like something to drink? 2 glasses of sake, and 10 skewers of grilled birds." "Okay." Luoya looked around and then said to Aunt Xiao, "Aunt Xiao, where is the coding craftsman? I haven't thanked him properly yet. His coding process is really great. I have never seen anything like this." "Great coder." Aunt Xiao smiled at Luoya, and then pulled Luoya aside directly. He said to Roha, "Roha, what on earth do you want to do? You actually brought Kizaru here. Aren't you afraid that he will find this place?" "Don't worry, even if he finds out, according to Kizaru's character, he won't do anything because there is no benefit, and it will be thankless," Roha said, looking at Kizaru with a smile on his lips. After a while, the two of them finished eating at Aunt Xiao's rip-off and walked out. Not long after they walked out, Roha saw a man wearing pink feathers walking towards them. "Long time no see, beige. Hey, isn't this Doflamingo? Is this coming out? Haha, thanks to you, I have experienced what it feels like to be in prison. You're welcome. If you still want it, you can tell me and I can help you." Roha had already anticipated Doflamingo's release from prison. After all, Doflamingo was once a celestial dragon. After returning to his residence, Roha saw Stella and Ein. Roha waved to Stella and said to Stella, "Stella, come here, I have a few devil fruits here, come and choose." These devil fruits were naturally taken from Auntie's Cake Island. Roha not only took away the devil fruit, no matter what it was, he never let it go. All are stored in the system space. This is why they can't find devil fruits or even Bailey. Stella was stunned for a moment when she heard Roha's words. She didn't expect Roha to actually bring her a devil fruit. She stood in front of Roha, feeling more excited than ever before. She only felt a feeling called attention coming to her heart. Sunlight shines through the window and reflects into the room. Gives people a warm feeling. Stella looked at Roja and the several fruits placed on the table, her eyes gradually becoming moist. This is an indescribable feeling. She was originally a slave. I thought that my life would be spent in darkness. However, fate made her meet Roya. She met this man who saved her from the darkness. Stella looked at Roja in front of her. Without hesitation, he bent his legs and knelt directly in front of Roja. Thank you, Master, my life belongs to the Master. No matter what happens in the future, I will never betray the Master. Roja quickly helped Stella up from the ground and said to Stella, Didn't I tell you before? We are partners, not a master-servant relationship, do you understand? Stella nodded vigorously, but in her heart she still regarded Luo Adam as her master who could never be replaced in this life. Roja naturally knew what Stella was thinking, so Roja didn't say much. However, he pointed at the table again and said to Stella, Okay, Stella, now choose the fruit you like. After hearing Roja's words, Stella turned her eyes to the table. At this time, there were a total of 5 fruits lying on the table. These fruits were all chosen by Roja through the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia and after careful selection by Stella. In other words, based on Stella's first impression, no matter what fruit she picked, it was definitely a very powerful fruit. Stella looked at all 5 fruits. Then, she chose the fruit on the far right. Are you sure? Stella nodded and confirmed. Confirmed, Master. In that case, just eat it. Just take a small bite. This will not affect the fruit's ability. Yes. Stella was very obedient. After all, she had also heard how unpleasant the taste of devil fruit was. Therefore, after Stella picked up the fruit from the table, she just took a small bite and counted it as eaten. But even so, Stella's expression looked a little weird. It tastes so bad. Ein, who was next to him, couldn't help laughing after seeing Stella's expression. Because this reminded Ein of what kind of state he was in when he ate the devil fruit. Recalling that she didn't know about devil fruit at the beginning, she only needed to take one bite. She ate all the devil fruits. That taste is definitely one that Ein doesn't want to remember in his entire life. Do you feel any changes in your body? After hearing Roja's words, Stella closed her eyes and began to carefully feel the changes in her body. At this time, a pitch-black aura began to appear in the room. This breath came from Stella. I saw that Stella's body began to gradually transform. Weird patterns began to appear on his body. The slender hands turned into 2 sharp sword blades. Not only that, even the slender legs have also become sharp blades. The limbs exude mysterious and beautiful patterns, and Stella's whole aura is like a Rakshasa girl crawling out of the abyss. The hair turned into a rich blood color, and even the color of the pupils also changed at this time. Ein was beside him, looking at the scene in front of him in surprise. I have to say that Stella has changed so much. This was completely different from when she first ate the fruit. It seems that after eating the fruit, she studied it for a long time before discovering its purpose. And Stella can actually change her body directly. This is something I can't even imagine. On the contrary, Roja was beside him and nodded happily. Yes, try taking a few steps and see if you feel any inconvenience. Hear what Roya said. Stella tried and took a few steps. The feet turned into sharp blades were very sharp. Every time he took a step, a shallow scratch would appear on the ground. It can be said that Stella's whole body is now a weapon. It's still that extremely sharp weapon. It doesn't affect me much when I walk, it just feels weird, Stella said to Roja. Roja nodded thoughtfully beside him. It feels weird. This is normal. After all, you just ate the fruit. Just wait for a while and get used to it. At this time, Stella looked at the mirror on the side. In the mirror, she saw her own appearance. Just as Stella frowned slightly, Roja came behind Stella and hugged Stella from behind into his arms. Stroking Stella's hair, he said to Stella, Stella, you look so domineering like this, with a mysterious beauty. Mysterious beauty? Stella repeated it subconsciously. Originally, she felt a little bad when she saw her appearance. Because it looked so vicious. All the limbs turned into sharp blades, like a poisonous rose, extremely thorny and full of darkness. Stella even regretted why she chose this fruit. But Roha's words made Stella recover from her slight sadness. This is a gift given to me by my master Roha. How could I hate it? Thinking of this, Stella looked at Roha with a warm smile on her lips and said, Master, I will definitely not live up to your expectations or this devil fruit. I will definitely work hard to tap my potential and let myself become stronger. Hearing Stella's words, Roha smiled even more happily. He just discovered that Stella seemed to have a little inner demon. But fortunately, Stella has come out. At this time, Ain asked Roha, Lord Roha, do you know what kind of devil fruit this devil fruit is? It looks so domineering. This fruit is called animal-type human fruit phantom beast species Rakshasa female form. After Roha finished speaking, he added, It is the same type of phantom beast devil fruit as the Warring States period. Ain was stunned for a moment when he heard Roha's words. As a girl who grew up in Marine, she naturally knew how powerful Warring States' abilities were. You know, when he was still a general, the Warring States period relied on this fruit to kill everyone. Of course, compared to fruit abilities, what is really powerful is Warring States' mind. At this time, Ain looked at Stella and blessed. Stella, judging from the appearance, your aggressiveness should be more powerful than the fruit of the Warring States Fleet Admiral. You must work hard. Stella glanced at Roha and raised the corners of her mouth. His sharp-edged hands were crossed on his chest. He said very domineeringly, Yes. After Stella tried some of the fruit's abilities, she released the transformed form. Since it was already evening, she was going to make a sumptuous dinner for Roya. Looking at the room, two girls were helping each other to make dinner together. Luoya enjoyed the time at this time very much. Isn't it just to become stronger to live more comfortably? You know, in this sea, only the weak will eat the strong. Soon, it was the next day. Luoya woke up from his sleep, stretched and came to the living room. Ain returned to his room. Only Stella, wearing an apron, was making breakfast in the kitchen. After Stella saw Roha, she said to Roha, Master, the Warring States Fleet Admiral just called me using a phone bug and asked you to go to his place after breakfast. Well, I understand. Roha nodded, then sat on his seat, waiting for the meal to begin. How is the fruit adapting? I can now change my form freely. Then train well, at least the fruit must be awakened. Do you understand? Understood, Master. For Luoya, if he wants to be on this sea, he will be unscrupulous. At least it has to reach the point of awakening. In this case, even if you can't beat him, you still have a great chance of escaping. Therefore, Luoya requires this for the people around him. After eating breakfast, Roha came to Warring States' office. As soon as he arrived here, Roha found that Kizaru was also sitting here. Sir Fleet Admiral, did you come to see me for something? Roha was very casual and sat on the sofa in front of Warring States. Warring States didn't say anything more, he just handed the two documents on his desk to Roha and Kizaru. This buster call was completed very well. This is the reward given to you by the 5 elders. Warring States paused and then said, However, there is only one reward, and you two need to make the decision. After hearing what Sengoku said, Roha opened the file thoughtfully. What caught Luoya's eyes was the reform and distribution of scientific troops. This huge title. When Roha saw the words, Science Force, the pupils shrank suddenly. You know, in today's Marine, all the warships, weapons, and even machines are far ahead of their time. But it was all done by Marine Special Operations Force, the Science Force. It is a very special unit, but once mastered, it is also a unit with great say. In the original work, it was Kizaru who took over the dominance of the scientific force. But this time Roha is here too. He will never let it out. At this time, Kizaru also had his own, very unbeatable tone and said, Oh, I didn't expect that the reward this time is actually the science team. Kizaru closed the document and leaned on the sofa, crossing his legs, wondering what he was thinking. Warring States looked at the two people in front of him and expressed his thoughts. Because this reward is very special, you need to decide the final ownership by yourself. However, the remaining one will also get 10 times the Marine's salary. 10 times the salary! Compared with the scientific army, it is really far behind. Anyone with a clear mind knows how to make this choice. At this time, Kizaru turned to look at Roja and said to Roja, General Beige, you are already very powerful. If you are willing to give up the scientific force to me, no matter what it will be like in the future, I will let you use the scientific research results as soon as possible. Kizaru said again, Of course, I don't need you to spend even a penny. Hearing Kizaru's words, the corners of Roja's mouth raised slightly. He revealed a smile that, in the eyes of outsiders, was extremely gentle. General Kizaru, I have long heard about the power of the scientific force. I have longed for such a force. I wonder if General Kizaru is willing to grant my little wish? Warring States looked helplessly at the two people in front of him. He could already smell a lot of gunpowder inside. After learning about this matter, he also raised his own objections, but they were all rejected by 5 elders. Regarding 5 elders' approach, Warring States really didn't want to say anything. Because Sengoku knew that this was the 5 elders who wanted to weaken Baiji's dominance in Marine. Therefore, this method was used to strengthen Roja or Kizaru when Akiji did not participate. As a salted fish sect, Kizaru even won the scientific force. Warring States won't think anything of it. After all, Sengoku knew Kizaru very well. It can be said that Kizaru had no ambitions and was a man with ambiguous justice. And if the scientific force is handed over to Roja, the Warring States period recognized Luo Yu's abilities very much, coupled with his momentum on the sea. Roya can be said to be Marine's star general. Whether it is strength or reputation, it far exceeds the other 2 people. However, once this scientific force is handed over to Roja, it will definitely increase Roya's power, and by then, there will be a new faction in Marine. This is what Warring States, as a dovish leader, absolutely does not want to see. But at the same time, it is also a scene that Sengoku, as Fleet Admiral, wants to see. Because Roja's ability is far beyond that of several other people. If it were him, it might make the sea more peaceful. Bring peace back to the sea. In this regard, it was difficult for the Warring States period to make a choice. So the choice of the Warring States period is not to choose. Let Roja and Kizaru fight for it. Whoever can get it will have the leadership of the scientific force. General Kizaru, I don't know if you were satisfied with yesterday's sake and roasted bird. When Kizaru heard what Roja said, the corner of his mouth suddenly twitched. As the saying goes, eating people is short of mouth, and taking people is short of hands. Yesterday he had a meal for nothing. But who makes Kizaru thick-skinned? Kizaru stood up from his seat, turned around and looked at Roja, and said to Roja, General White Pigeon, in this case, let's have a good competition, right? Oh, what are you competing for? Roja looked at Kizaru very gently, but the sparkle in his eyes represented his thoughts. It's very simple. Have a competition and win 2 out of 3 games. Best of 3? Yes, it's not us competing, but our men competing. What do you think? Kizaru said to Roja. Kizaru knows that Baigu possesses the peak armament and domineering power, as well as the super coordination of the phantom fruit, plus the peak of the 6 styles. No matter in terms of speed or strength, he couldn't take advantage. That's why Kizaru proposed this plan. Roja looked at Kizaru. There was a smile on his lips. Time seems to stand still at this moment. I don't know how long it took before Luoya smiled at Kizaru and said, Okay, as you wish. Roya, you have to think clearly, this is a competition between subordinates. Warring States also wanted to remind Roja. In this regard, Luoya just said, I never do anything without preparation. When Kizaru heard what Roja said, his heart became even heavier. Just when he wanted to start the competition immediately, Roja looked at Kizaru and said to Kizaru, General Kizaru, in this case, it shouldn't matter if we compete in a month, right? The last words were spoken by Luoya to Warring States. Warring States nodded. It doesn't matter in a month. Kizaru opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but when he saw Roja's gaze, Kizaru said, Hola hola, since General White Pigeon said so, see you in a month. With that said, Kizaru's figure immediately disappeared from Sengoku's office. Warring States looked at Roha. Is it really okay? Just think of it as exercise for them. But isn't it just iron that you can use? At most, you can add Khalifa. No, Khalifa recently went to a special training on the secret island, and it is impossible to withdraw from it. There is only one person you can use now. Warring States said earnestly to Roha. Don't worry, Sengoku Fleet Admiral, I never do anything I'm not prepared for. After Roha finished speaking, he also retreated from Warring States' office. Seeing Roha's confident look, Warring States didn't know what to say. As for Roha's strength, Sengoku felt that Kizaru was not necessarily Roha's opponent. But if it's a battle between his subordinates, Warring States doesn't know what Roha wants to do. It's really hard to understand. Warring States patted his head and didn't think much about it. Instead, he focused his energy on other document processing. As for Roha and Kizaru, let them handle it themselves. It can be said that this incident spread very quickly. After a while, the entire Marine Land knew that Roya and Kizaru were going to compete. Roya returned to his room. As soon as he entered the room, Roha saw Ayn and Stella. Ayn, are you done with your training today? Well, Lord Roha, I heard. I was just about to tell you about this matter. Roha sat on the chair and said to the two women, You two must have heard about the competition between Kizaru and I. Ayn nodded vigorously and gave a military salute to Roha. Lord Roha, we will definitely go all out. I know, after all, you two are my confidants. Luoya added. So I was thinking, should I put some pressure on you and let you grow up early? This time Roha was really pure, thinking about the two of them. After all, the exercise during this period of time felt a little too loose. In addition, Stella has just taken the fruit, which is also a better time for promotion. Therefore, Roha planned to take the two of them and practice them hard. But Lord Roha, I heard that this time it's not 3 against 3. There are only 2 of us here, including Stella. What should we do if there is only one left? Just as Ayn finished speaking, there was a knock on the door outside. I saw Roha snap his fingers. A phantom appeared in front of the door out of thin air. After opening the door, he disappeared. The door slowly opened, and a woman with long light pink hair walked in from the outside. Master Roha, let Tina come as the third person, okay? Tina walked in from outside and came to Roha. She never changed her mind. It just so happened that after hearing about this, I made a decision immediately. With her current ability, when she comes to Roha who lacks the last person, she will definitely be favored by Roha. Thinking of this, Tina felt extremely confident. Ayn and Stella also looked at Tina, who was standing in front of Roha, wondering what they were thinking. After hearing Tina's words, Roha stood up from the chair. Tina, I know what you mean, but I already have a third candidate. After hearing Roha's words, Tina's cheeks suddenly became rosy. Well, Lord Roha, just treat it as if I have never been here. With that said, Tina ran outside. This is simply too shy. Did you recommend yourself and then be rejected? Wait a minute, Tina, it's time to eat soon. Do you want to finish eating before leaving? As a girl, I come to recommend myself. No matter what Roha says, I want to treat him to a meal. Tina also agreed after thinking about it for a while. After all, this is a good opportunity for Tina to get close to Roha. At the dinner table, Tina asked Roha, Lord Roha, can you tell me who you plan to invite? A woman who is very good at swordsmanship. With that said, Luoya took a bite of fish. Needless to say, in the world of pirates, the most indispensable thing is fish. After hearing what Roha said, the 3 women fell into deep thought. However, after they searched the memories in their minds, they never thought of it. Among Marines, who has better swordsmanship? Time came to the afternoon in a blink of an eye. It's time for most of the Marines to rest. And Roya came to another residential area in Marine. This is the residence of the Lieutenant General. As far as the conditions are concerned, it's pretty good. Dong dong dong. Roha came to the door and knocked gently. The door slowly opened. A figure like a royal sister caught Luo Ye's eyes. General Beige, you are really a rare visitor. Actually, I have wanted to come and visit you for a long time, but I have been too busy recently, and my time has not allowed it, so please don't mind. Is it because of that competition that the White Pigeon General was able to come to me in person? Momosaji said to Roha. This is one of them. Then I'm sorry, General White Pigeon. Momosaji looked at the white pigeon in front of him and said, I will not participate in any party's invitation. Please return the way you came. Momosaji said to Roha without mercy. However, at this time, a slight smile appeared on the corner of Roha's mouth. The smile was very gentle, as if Roha was at ease with everything in front of him. Momosaji, General Replacement, are you really not going to accept my invitation? Luo Ye added the words, General, and reread them hard. This immediately attracted Momosaji's attention. Momosaji frowned slightly and turned to look at Roha. General Baigu, what do you mean by this? Momosaji looked at Roha coldly, as if he wanted to see something from Roha's eyes. Won't you invite me to come in and sit down? Roha smiled slightly at Momosaji. At this time, Momosaji had no idea what Roha was trying to do. Without saying anything else, Momosaji walked into his room, turned his back to Roha and said, Remember to close the door. Arriving at Momosaji's room, Roya looked at Momosaji's room. I have to say that he didn't expect that Momosaji looked like an elder sister on the outside, but was exactly the same as a little girl on the inside. The room is full of pink decorations, even the chairs are pink. Looks very cute. Momosaji also noticed Roha's gaze. I saw that Momosaji exuded a cold temperament, which was completely opposite to the decoration of the room, giving people a very different feeling. Tell me, what's going on? I want to invite you to join my power. In your power? Don't you know that I am a member of the Dove faction? Momosaji has a very good relationship with Counselor Tsuru, even called sisters. Although the age gap between these sisters is relatively large, this can also explain their relationship with each other. Of course I know. It's precisely because I know that I feel sorry for you even more. Feeling sorry for me? I don't need your feeling of distress. Momosaji stood up from his seat and came to the window. Through the window, he looked at the training ground of Malin Fando. It can be seen that Momosaji's heart is very uneasy. This is exactly what Roha thought. Momosaji, you are a backup to the general, but have you ever thought about why they don't support you, and even all kinds of resources are poured into you after being screened? Every time Roya said a word, Momosaji's pussy clenched tighter. This feeling is really unpleasant. She has always been aiming to become a general and working hard. Whether it is physical skills or swordsmanship, she has reached a level that ordinary women cannot reach. The swordsmanship has reached the peak of the Supreme Swordsman, and it is possible to advance to the intermediate level of the Supreme Swordsman at any time. But even so, Momosaji is still Momosaji. That general's replacement. That's why she reacted like this when she heard Luo Ye's words. The generals will be replaced later. It is absolutely impossible to say that Momosaji has no resentment in his heart. What can you give me? Momosaji turned around and looked at Roha, but his aura had dissipated a lot. No longer so cold and inhumane. Hearing Momosaji's words, the corners of Roha's mouth raised slightly. Whatever you want. I'll give it to you. When Roha said this, he was extremely confident. Because this comes from his strength. So, what if I say, I want the position of general? How are you going to give it to me? It's simple. If I become fleet admiral, you can become a general. Roha was very indifferent when he said this. Then he made himself a pot of fragrant tea. Hot steam wafted out of the teapot. Momosaji looked at the steam and was in a daze. She obviously didn't expect that Roha would answer like this. Momosaji was lost in thought. She needed to think about the pros and cons. If she joins Roya's camp, she will be labeled as a traitor by the Doves. Although the Warring States period will not say anything, the material resources that are already lacking will become even more scarce. This is unacceptable to Momosaji. But according to Roya's current reputation, it is not impossible to become a fleet admiral. However, the only thing that cannot be controlled is the Warring States period. If there were no mistakes in the Warring States period, there was no telling how long Fleet Admiral would be able to sit. In other words, Roha has other unknown plans. Just when Momosaji wanted to ask Roa carefully, he recovered from his thoughts. But he found that outside the window, the sun was already setting. There was only a white letter lying quietly on the table. At this time, Roha had returned to his residence. He asked Stella and Ayn to come to the training ground. He is going to carry out hellish special training for the two girls, so that their strength will be improved by at least 3 levels. On the training ground, Roha used the 5th transformation phantom. Each of these 5 phantoms has a small part of Roha's strength. Just perfect as a sparring partner for Stella and Ayn. However, Stella hesitated a little when facing these 5 phantoms. Master, I have only done physical training, not combat training at all. I don't know how to fight at all. In this regard, Roha had only one sentence. Stella, you just need to remember that if you eat the animal type, the human fruit, the fantasy beast species, and the Rakshasa female form, you only need to carry out a crazy attack. Best. The only defense is to attack like crazy, attacking the weak points so that they have to defend. Do you understand? Yes, Master. Roha's words were an imperial edict in Stella's ears. Stella will never resist whatever Roya asks Stella to do. But at this moment, Tina walked in from outside. Roya, Tina has purchased these medicinal materials according to your instructions. It cost a total of 90 million belly. This is the remaining 10 million belly. Tina, thank you for your hard work today. Just think of these 10 million Baileys as your errand fees. 10 million Baileys? Is that much? Okay, Tina is very happy. Tina didn't expect that Roha would be so generous. Thinking of this, she wanted to join Roha's camp even more. This is much better than dovishness. You must know that the Dove faction is the largest faction in Marine. But with a large number of people, only so many resources are available. The resource tilt is seriously uneven, which is why Momosaji is dissatisfied with it. The so-called resources are not just as simple as Bailey. It also has warships, adjutants, entourage, firearms, artillery fire, logistics, training. Especially training. When you reach the rank of Lieutenant General, you can deploy criminals from underwater prison for training, competition, and killing. Except for the last layer, of course. Otherwise, why would Marines spend a lot of money to raise pirates in underwater prison? Roha transported these medicinal materials to the room, and then said to everyone, as for training, don't worry. No matter what kind of injury you have, I can cure it, and I can guarantee that there will never be hidden injuries on your body. All you have to do is fight with confidence and boldness. At the end, Roha said to Tina, Tina, do you want to come too?